Jai Ho Ji. Jai Shri Radha. Continuing with Sevafalam. Now, verse 4. Vādakanam parityago bhogepyeko bhogepyekam tatha param nishpratyuham mahan bhogaha pratame vishate sada. Embodied soul's duty is to renounce anything which hinders one's heartfelt seva to the beloved Lord. Bhoga enjoyment is a great obstacle. Divine enjoyment, however, is not an obstacle and is in fact a constant part of the first and foremost reward. One should make, Tikao number 4, one should make effort to renounce anything which presents an obstacle to one's seva. Selfish, sensuous enjoyment is an obstacle to seva. Enjoyment does have two aspects, worldly and divine. The first, selfish, worldly, sensual gratification, must be renounced. The second, enjoying the Lord's prasad in the forms of his company and his pastimes, etc., is not obstacle. It's not an obstacle. In fact, it is included in the first devotional reward. When obstacles arise, one should deal with them skillfully. With an informed attitude, worldly, that is, ordinary hindrances can be avoided. If the obstruction is posed by the Lord himself, one should accept that he does not wish to grant any reward at that time and always avoid taking shelter elsewhere to get the desired result. The Lord can do, not do, or do otherwise and performs his pastimes according to his own perfect wish. The devotee must remain wise by cultivating knowledge of the underlying principles. Depend on the Lord's greatness and never be anxious. Verse 5. Savignalpo ghatakasyad abala baladeto sadamato dutiye sarvata chintam tyajya sansara nischayat. Savignalpo ghatakasyat baladetao sadamatao dvitiye sarvata chinta tyajya sansara nischayat. Worldly, self-centered enjoyment is inferior and ruinous, whilst both types of impediment are to be considered powerful. In the second, where the Lord does not grant immediate or expected reward, one must renounce all anxiety because it only leads to more material involvement. Tika 5. Worldly enjoyment causes instructions. It is inferior and ruinous. Its unworldly hindrances arising from it are very big obstacles. They lead to involvement in the worldly realm of egotism and possessiveness. One should make every attempt to detach from them and rid one's mind of them, especially from anxiety, which is said to be the first obstacle to Manasi Seva. Anxiety arises when the reward is not granted or it is delayed and leads to more and more worldly involvements. Avoiding such worries, one must apply oneself with body and mind to the Lord's Seva. This enjoyment is momentary and only generates more and more problems. Worldly impediments might be listed as one's close associates, laziness and attachment to worldly pleasures, which affects one's seva adversely. Hindrances imposed by the Lord might include bad health, disease, or a mind distracted from seva by sensual pleasures. These hindrances forcefully direct the embodied soul's mind over and over to reapplying it to seva. So they're all kripas. We just have to take them back into the right direction. Verse 6. Natvadye datrita nasti tritiye badakam griham avashyayam sada bhavya sarvamanyan mano brahmaha sarvamanyan mano brahmaha. When the first obstacle, anxiety, arises, then one should understand that it is not the Lord's wish to grant any reward at that time. In the third obstacle, enjoyment, attachment to the worldly home is the cause. Such matters should definitely be carefully considered. Thought beyond these guidelines are merely imaginings and bring confusion. Tika 6. Here, if, after due consideration, anxiety still arises, then one must comprehend that the Lord's wish is not to grant any reward at that time. Still, the embodied soul should not give up seva, because grace will ensue and the reward may then be granted to the third rung of hindrance, enjoyment. If the worldly home presents an impediment, then one should renounce it. Attachment to the material home is very strong and a huge hindrance. In the Bhakti Vardhini treatise, it is stated that attachment to the worldly home is a huge obstacle, and attachment to it should be renounced, although it is stated therein that if this is impossible, the home cannot affect mature and stable devotion. Unshakable devotion must be developed before this third hindrance can be fully noted. These three rewards: special spiritual capability, absorption into his pastimes, and a body useful to seva, and the three types of hindrance, anxiety, hindrance, and enjoyment, should be the object of constant consideration. Imaginative thoughts on anything else beyond these brings confusion to the mind. Verses 7 and 8. Tadiyerapi tatkaryam pushto neva vilambayet gunakshobepi drashtavyam etadeveti me matihi kushrishtiratra va kvachid uch kvachid kushrishtiratra va kache utpadyeta Save brahmaha tadiyerapi tatkaryam pushto neva vilambayet gunakshobepi drashtavyam etadeveti me matihi kushrishtiratra va kache dupadyeta save brahmaha. The Lord's close devotees should adhere to this attitude and behavior, and thus be sure that the Lord's grace will follow without delay. It is my opinion that even when the mind is affected by material desire, these principles should be closely examined and adhered to. Any distortion or of doubt about these concepts that may arise can only be confusingly false. Tika 7 and 8. Even the accomplished devotee who has surrendered themselves at the Lord's lotus feet should pay close mental attention to the concepts of seva, the rewards of seva, hindrances to seva, and the method of avoiding them. Therefore, thereby the Lord will not delay the granting of such reward and great grace. If due to the three modes of material nature, one's consciousness is still adversely affected by mental anguish, one should keep one's thoughts within these guidelines about giving up anxiety, self-imposed obstacles, and sense gratification, with no deviation in action or faith, no looking on other paths for the solution. This is my Sri Vallabhacharyaji's opinion. Whilst adhering to the considerations listed above, one should not waste time endeavoring to understand imagined rewards, obstacles, or practices, for it surely only leads one to mental confusion and misapplication. Always walk upon the path as indicated by the great devotees and offer one's entire life to the lotus feet of the beloveds. That's conclusion 7-8. Thus concludes the rewards of Sevapalam, the 16th treatise of the 16. Shri Acharya Ji ki jai ho.